Hey guys, how's it going? Octopus here and welcome back to evercrisis. We're going to be talking about the Reawakened banner for the Bahamut gear, the 1-year anniversary. A lot of this stuff really changed the game when it first came out. Some of it still does, but I want to talk about Tifa's and Cloud's right now and give you a little heads up. Like if Aerith gets her Bahamut rod again, even if you think that like there's going to be a power creep, whatnot, that Bahamut rod is actually really good, especially because it's the only one that has an S and an all. It's got multiple things going on for it: ATB gauge up, physical defense up, healing, all in one weapon. So if the Aerith one comes back, jump on it if you don't have it, right? Highly recommend that. But let's talk about the ones that are currently out at the moment. Reawakened. Now I know there's a whole community thing going on at the moment. If you guys are not aware, a lot of people are not reporting, but they're going to like inquiries and they're sending emails talking about how they feel about the game right now. Because if you look at this, it's limited into a limited, and there's a 1.5 anniversary coming, and they just had other limited banners as well. There's been one too many limited banners, and it's been very discouraging for the player base. So if you are currently still playing the game and you want to figure out min-maxing, you got to be very careful right now, because how many resources we've got compared to how many limited banners there is, and then on top of that, how many weapon parts we got, right? There's only so many of these. I got 820 on Glenn, and I don't think I've ever used Glenn or Red 13's weapon parts, and that's playing 550 days of this game, almost a year and a half. So clearly there's not enough resources to deal with all these limited banners, and that's why I'm making these videos, to kind of really give you a heads up. Like, think about before you go for it, because you got to look at what your account needs. If you are someone who wants to be part of the community right now, pushing into the whole inquiry thing about like what you want to see change, here's how the changes could apply, could make it better, right? There's a lot of suggestions. There's a whole copy and paste in my Discord. You guys can check that out. And I could make another video as well talking about it in detail, but a lot of content creators have already established this. I've talked about some of my live streams. I've also went over this in every single update whenever something happens, and since the beginning of the game, I always pointed out things, and I'm like, why don't they have this? Like the jukebox, mini games, quality of life updates that we did get recently, but there's still a lot of stuff that is missing that could improve the game. But with all that being said, if you guys do want to, you can send those emails to Square expressing how you feel about the game right now. So hopefully they do, or Applebot technically, so they do actually make a change that's worth it, to really make the player base feel like they're being heard and also cared for, right? Because right now, a lot of limited banners seems terrible idea. But jumping back into the Reawakened, and the stamp card for this is pretty, I don't know, I feel like this shouldn't be here. And if this is here, allow this to be changed into another weapon, because again, whales, people who got both costumes, this is just really bad to have on the 12 stamp, right? I think the thing you can get is Mithril Ore, and that's so bad. Especially if you're trying to overboost these weapons to max, if you wanted them. Hitting 2 of those seems so terrible. Like, I don't understand why they didn't go like, okay, well, here's, I don't know, weapon vouchers, at least, so you can get some non-limited weapons. I don't know. I still think those should have just been another choice for Cloud or Tifa. So, with that, Cloud and Tifa, are they still worth it? Bahamut Greatsword, I would say at this point of the game, if you're new, it's an easy 1 pickup or a OB6 it if you want the R abilities for other weapons, because it is a really easy way to cheese the game and get through content that would have roadblocked you otherwise. Because I remember when I started on 2 accounts, one I started from day 1, the other one I started later on, and both of those accounts had an issue where they hit certain quests or story quests, and I couldn't get through it to unlock certain dailies, events, just start farming properly, right? Start farming the proper weapon enhancements so I can make my weapons level 80, 90, right? So there's a lot of issues with that, where Bahamut Greatsword can cheese a ton of content because it's like not permanent, it's static damage, right? It just deals 30,000 damage, minus a couple things here and there, but for the most part, it does the damage of the weapon and that additional damage on top. Now, at the moment, I believe these weapons will turn out to be just more of an R ability weapon, because there is no other weapons in the game, or very little that will do this. Physical attack all allies for boost, and physical ability potency all in one weapon. So Cloud wielding this on a lot of his setups works really well even till this day. And then having this in a back weapon for any other DPS or your sub DPS giving it to other people, it works really well. I would say the costume, when you compare this to like Tifa's New Year's banner, the thing about Bahamut Bite here, the physical build damage plus 10% and physical attack up by 5%, when you add that all together, it's very close to that 30% boost that she has towards all the elements. But this only really works towards like C abilities, other things you're doing. Once you summon, you don't get that 10% boost, and that's where like the big damage comes from. So once you do apply an Arcanum or Tifa's costume where she has all the elements, right? All the Arcanums for 30%. Once she summons, she makes up that big difference of how many 10% C abilities you were doing. So when you're spamming your main hand weapon, this costume works really well for any setup, fire, water, whatever you name it, right? It's not the perfect Arcanum, but it's pretty close, especially when you have boost attack coming over here for yourself and your allies, right? 5% from there. You've got 5% from there for himself. So it is a lot of damage boost. It's just not perfect, especially when it comes to summons, but it's definitely a great starting point. For older players, especially what's been coming out in the game and you know what's going to be coming, I feel like you could skip on this very easily and not even think about it. Again, the one I do think that you should get is the Aerith one, because especially when you come to Tifa, if and only if you pulled for Dandelion or Daffodil, her New Year's costume and her New Year's weapon, if you currently have that at any overboost, especially overboost 6 or higher, you're not using this anymore. Like, it is a really good weapon, don't get me wrong. The damage doesn't matter, it's not going to make a difference in a match. The haste is really good, and magic attack increased mid all allies, right? This was, and it goes to high, this was one of a kind when it first came out. There wasn't much characters that could AoE magic attack up, if any, and the boost R abilities, again, very, very strong R abilities for any character. But when you're comparing this to the New Year's Tifa we just got, you're going to constantly be using exploit over a little haste and a magic attack up, especially because you're getting your magic attack up from your healers, your sub DPS these days. So not necessary anymore. Damage doesn't matter. The haste is the only unique thing on this weapon. Besides that, another weapon that will be used R ability wise on the backhand of a lot of characters, especially if you OB10 it, right? So this is technically been power crept by Daffodil that Tifa just got. So if you're wondering if you should max out Tifa, I would hold off if you are someone like me or other people who ended up getting this weapon, right? Having that exploit weakness, once you get it to OB6, it's going to be at 40%. That's really, really strong. Even now, 25% any setup plus unique R ability on it, and could be used for her physical and magical, where this weapon is only a magic based weapon that will apply haste to you. So great R abilities, and the same thing costume, just like I talked about Cloud, same idea. Yeah, it works really well when I compare the two, the New Year's one and this one, or her Arcanum. The damage is not far off when I'm using the C ability, but once you summon, you see the big difference of the summon not getting that perfect element combination. But it still works really well if you have nothing else. If you're a new player, I would still kind of hold off, right? This is here until March 12th. That's a long time from now. This is something that you shouldn't touch. Aerith, yes, I would OB6 her weapon right away if the Reawakened Aerith comes out. And then you can go for the other Aerith banner over here, and you got a really solid Aerith start. But there's also a chance of Monster Hunter collab that might have a rerun, and then you can get Kimura Wand as well, so you have a triple threat. But for this banner specifically, it all depends on your account. By all means, these are not bad costumes and not bad weapons. It just depends. Like Tifa, if you got that New Year's one, you skip this. 100% you skip this. If you have Cloud and you have no other good R ability offhand weapons for him, because he's mostly been limited as well. He does have a lot of good stuff, but for having offhand, like if you just need something random, you're usually looking at something like the Buster Sword for the HP boost attack. You're throwing in the elements if he can do double elements, right? Because he has that anniversary 6-month one. You can add it with this for the more ice potency. But for the most part, that is going to be his strongest offhand weapon because of the R abilities themselves. Even main hand, and then you put his like element weapon on the offhand just to have that damage, right? So it is a very powerful weapon for Cloud because there's not anything else that can really sit there and do the R abilities that this does. And of course, having that AoE physical damage. So Cloud, yes, his weapon can still sustain. Tifa's, I think, has definitely been replaced. Costumes, if you don't have the Arcanum, they definitely work and they boost the rest of the party. But the choice in the end is yours for these Reawakened banners. And with how the game is always getting better, it's hard to justify a Reawakened banner. In my opinion, I think they put this here for newer players or players who weren't able to get them before, or who are close to OB6 in them, like you have OB5 or something. I think personally for me, as much as I'm not going to pull on this, there is that incentive. I don't think mine's OB10 yet, right? Because I did get it. Yeah, it's OB9. So I have an OB9 version of this weapon. OB10 would give me that little extra damage, but I don't need it, right? I don't need it. So I'm going to just hold off and keep saving towards what my goal is, which is in April. There's supposed to be Vincent banners, ultimate weapons, and I'm looking forward to that. So in the end, if you are someone who uses Cloud and you want a good offhand weapon and a good back weapon for any physical DPS, it's worth it. Tifa, again, is just going to be used for the R abilities in the backhand, right? Sorry, sub weapons, not her offhand. Her offhand is going to be that Daffodil. But if not, then yeah, you can still use this for her specific magic setups only. So, with that being said, good luck with everything, guys. I just wanted to cover this because I know a lot of people have been asking and my thought process on it. When it comes around to the other banner, I don't think I'll make an update for it, or maybe I will and I'll talk about Aerith. But for now, I hope I covered everything. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll smell you later.